Europe has faced hunger many times, fields frozen by harsh winters, harvests destroyed by climate shifts, entire populations standing on the edge of famine. But what many people don't know is that some of the solutions that helped Europe survive did not come from within Europe itself. They came from Africa, from crops developed through centuries of innovation, resilience, and deep agricultural knowledge. This is the hidden story of how African agriculture quietly influenced Europe's survival during times of crisis. For centuries, Europe's survival depended heavily on a few staple crops, mainly wheat, barley, and rye. When these crops failed, catastrophe followed. During the medieval period, harsh winters and unpredictable climate patterns destroyed harvests. The Great Famine of 1315 to 1317 devastated northern Europe, causing widespread starvation and social collapse. Later, the Little Ice Age brought colder temperatures that shortened growing seasons. Communities struggled to adapt. Agricultural systems that relied on specific climate conditions became fragile. Europe needed new solutions, crops that could survive drought, poor soil, and unpredictable weather. And that search would eventually connect Europe to agricultural knowledge developed far beyond its borders. Africa's agricultural innovation. Long before global trade networks expanded, African farmers had already mastered resilience. Across regions like West Africa, East Africa, and the Sahel, communities cultivated crops adapted to extreme environments. Sorghum, one of the world's oldest cultivated grains, thrived in dry climates. Millet grew quickly and required little water. Yams provided dense nutrition and long storage life. Legumes like cowpeas added protein to diets and improved soil fertility. These were not accidental discoveries. They were the result of generations of experimentation, observation, and ecological understanding. African agriculture developed systems that prioritized survival, systems Europe would later learn from: trade and cultural exchange. From the 15th century onward, expanding trade routes connected Europe and Africa more closely than ever before. Merchants exchanged goods, but also knowledge. African crops began appearing in European markets. Sorghum influenced agricultural experimentation in Mediterranean regions. African rice cultivation techniques contributed to rice farming practices across parts of southern Europe. And coffee, originating from Ethiopia, spread through trade routes, eventually transforming European culture and social life. Coffee houses became centers of discussion, innovation, and political change. But behind these cultural transformations was a deeper reality. Agricultural exchange helped stabilize food systems. Crisis adaptation and survival. When famine threatened Europe, resilience became essential. Drought-resistant crops provided inspiration for agricultural diversification. Farmers began experimenting with alternative grains and farming techniques influenced by global exchange. The idea of cultivating crops suited to different climates, rather than forcing one crop everywhere, gained importance. African agricultural knowledge contributed to this shift in thinking. Instead of relying solely on traditional European staples, new possibilities emerged. Food security became less about one crop, and more about adaptation. The global food network. History often tells stories as if civilizations developed independently, but food tells a different story. European agriculture evolved through global connections. African crops, alongside those from Asia and the Americas, became part of a worldwide exchange that reshaped diets. Some contributions were subtle, influencing farming strategies rather than replacing existing foods. Others were transformative, like coffee, which reshaped daily life across Europe. Behind these changes were farmers, traders, and communities whose knowledge crossed borders long before modern globalization. Why this history is often forgotten. Despite its importance, Africa's contribution to global agriculture is rarely highlighted in mainstream narratives. History often focuses on political power rather than agricultural innovation. But survival depends on food, and food depends on knowledge. Recognizing Africa's role helps us understand that global history is interconnected, shaped by shared ideas and exchange. The next time you think about European history, remember that survival was never isolated. Across oceans and continents, knowledge traveled silent, and sometimes the crops that helped feed nations came from fields far away, rooted in African soil. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.